Good morning and welcome to News Check on this, the 5th of August 2025. My name is Abdiaziz Hashim. The sign language interpreter at the bottom end of the screen is Anne Wangeshi. This morning, our keen focus is on the parties, especially the Orange Democratic Movement, as well as the Democratic Action Party, DAPK, following the recent moves, especially within members, confirmed by DAPK leader, that is Eugene Wamalwa, that there is internal wrangles. Now they have forwarded that particular case to a committee that will form in the next 14 days to resolve some of the issues facing them. Also on the Orange Democratic Movement, following the tussle within that particular party, the ODM have come out with a joint communique from the United Democratic Action Party as well, that is UDA and ODM, over their pact. Now a technical committee also will be formed to follow on that particular 10 pact, if they're being implemented, how they will be implemented and the timelines. Also very critical, we'll be focusing as well on the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, that is the IBC, following a communication they issued last week, an interesting one that has raised eyebrows, especially when it comes to recalling of members of parliament and senators, with IBC, of course, pointing an accusing finger at the National Assembly for not amending the laws guiding the removal or recalling of a member of parliament following a general election. Also, the itinerary that will be given by IBC in the coming days for the 23 by-elections that are set to be held across the country. That is our keen focus this morning. Talk to us on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 and at Abdiaziz Hashim 2. My guests this morning are none other than Alenga Trostat, a political advisor, Dr. Isaac Hassan, policy and governance expert, and Dr. Mark Matunga, a senior political analyst that will be forming that particular discussion. Also keeping an eye on various events that are currently happening across the country, including our National Ethics and Corruption Survey that is being launched at the Integrity Center by the EACC CEO and the chair. We'll be taking you there live any moment from now. Parliamentary committees that are still ongoing, and a national biopesticide workshop that is currently happening at the Safari Park. We'll be also crossing over there live as and when we get these particular links. Now, once more, that will be our focus. So if you want to chime into the conversation, talk to us, and we'll be sampling some of your views as the session continues. Let me start with Dr. Mark Matunga, a senior political analyst. Daktari, thank you for coming in this morning, and maybe give us a general overview. You have been watching what has been happening within ODM, and now you see what is happening in DAPK.
Thank you, Aziz. Abdikadir Aziz?
No, Abdiaziz Hashim.
Abdiaziz.
Yes.
It's definitely an honor to be here. Kenya is always a hotbed of politics. That is known. And I want to make an interesting observation, and I don't mind being quoted. There are no real political parties in Kenya. We have political leaders who use names of political outfits, and we also don't have party members in Kenya. That to me, and I know I'm saying that we have followers of political leaders, such that today, let me just pick maybe the top 3 or 4, or let me not call it top 3. Let me just pick 3 quick examples. ODM is not a political party. ODM is an outfit that actually Raila leads. So ODM is Raila. If Raila today moves to Tip Tip, all his followers will go to Tip Tip. We have UDA, which is actually the party which I'm supposed to be a member. But I happen to be a follower of the leader of what we call the party, that is UDA. UDA is President Ruto. If Ruto today decides that he's going back to something else, that is where we will go as his followers. Same as Wiper, Kalonzo. These are followers of Kalonzo, not members of the political party. So once we have that understanding, then we'll know what is happening in Kenya. These are not political parties that are actually based on any serious ideologies, and Daktari here and my friend here will tell you. We are basically political followers of political leaders. And that is why Kenya is always at the edge of politics, all the time. Anything and everything is political. Whether you are importing sugar, it is political. Whether you are eating ugali or eating mokimo, it's all politics. And that is why when we actually finish elections, we finish campaigns and we do elections, and after elections, of course, the court issues. Immediately after that, what you will find in all those small gatherings of either a border post or any shopping center or any other place, it is politics that actually people talk about. And that is also what keeps you going, the media. The media benefits so much the conversations around politics. So it is just basically a political hotbed, not in a negative way, but that is what we eat. We eat, dream, and talk politics. But I'm making a very strong and critical assertion that we do not have real political parties. We have political leaders. And all of us who claim to be members of those political parties are actually followers of those leaders.
Okay. So, Dr. I can see you're nodding in agreement as well, Dr. Isaac. You can respond to what Dr. Matunga was talking about in terms of not having a political party, but we do follow the political leaders who are running those political parties. But also, in your view, do you think there is cracks, especially within the Orange Democratic Movement?
Yeah, there's a bit of challenge in the Orange Democratic Movement. But before we get there, let me just add what Doc has just mentioned. Politics and political games in Kenya, it is individualized. For example, just look at the formation of the current so-called opposition. You realize that when Rigathi Gachagua, former impeached deputy president, came out of the lavish life of the government of the day, and he was thrown out, he did not thought of joining any political leader with a strong or historical political party. He opted to first go back to his backyard and come up with a political party. Meaning then, political parties are individualized. It's never a political party with specific issues related to what multipartyism is all about. Coming to your point, there's a bit of crack in ODM on three aspects. The first aspect is the fact that now the party leader is likely to retire from active politics, making then people who have been living under his mercy and have not been doing a lot of campaigns in securing their seats will not enjoy those privileges anymore, and they are likely to now face the battle within the ground. Because you can remember in Nyanza, if Baba says, we have given you ODM ticket, then of course you are sure 100% that you will be the member of parliament for that area, or a governor for that purpose. The second thing is the fact that some of the ODM political party members are trying to look or position themselves for different positions that they have never had. For example, Sifuna is trying to groom himself for gubernatorial seat in Nairobi, meaning then he must do some funny things to align himself with the current rhythm of political games in the city, because the city's politics is much different from the politics we play outside the city. Meaning then, he sees, for example, the majority of the voters in Nairobi are either elites who are in working groups, or the young people, the Gen Zs. And this team are the ones who have been talking about the current government and the possibility of removing the current government from their seats in come 2027. Meaning then, if ODM is forming the broad-based government, and the broad-based government is part of the current UDA or Kenya Kwanza government, meaning then their publicity will go down. In essence, what Sifuna is trying to do is he's trying to elaborately tell his voters that he's not part of that game. So that's why he's trying to push occasionally, comes out of the political party, and then again talk his own things, and then he's termed by his members. The fact that he's also also the Secretary General of ODM, means that if he speaks a different language outside the party's position, then we will interpret ourselves. We're going to interpret that ODM has developed a crack, particularly from the leadership position. So because Sifuna is not just an ordinary member of Orange Democratic Party. Thirdly, and the third part, which I would like to finish up with, is that there is uncertainty in terms of which political ticket or political party will going to form the next government. It might be UDA, it might be ODM, or it could be a formation of a different entity. You remember there was a coalition of TNA and the URP, which formed the first session or the first part of the government of Uhuru and Ruto. And then later we found another new political party called Jubilee, which they used as a vehicle to secure their seat for the second term. And similarly, the games of politics in Kenya is uncertain until when we get closer to the election and formations start developing, and that is when you realize that people come together and have a direction. So we actually don't know exactly what political vehicle will the current government use, will the opposition use for purposes of 2027 election. And that could be the reason as to why you see the individualized political parties with their political leaders are having wrangles now and trying to indicate that, hey, you may be pushing us to a wrong direction. So in essence, that's what I will say to what you have asked.
And Alenga, as you respond to what both the Daktaris have talked about, especially when it comes to political leadership, how do we reach to a point where we detach ourselves from this political narrative where political leaders are the party, not the members who are forming that particular political party? Because we've seen in the past even independent candidates winning elections.
I think from the point I want to speak from is there's a generational issue. And that generation is that there are people who have been in the political space maybe for the last 35 years or 30, and they have cultivated their political formations, and these political formations have become more of their own personal enterprises. So you cannot get them away from those people. You cannot get Wiper away from Kalonzo Musyoka. You cannot get ODM away from Raila. You cannot get Kanu from the Kanu boys. So that's how the political space has been managed. But now there is a new generation of politicians that is coming up, and you have seen some of them have had problems within these outfits. We're talking about people like Edwin Sifuna, people like Babu Owino, people like Caleb Amisi, the ones who may not be easy to panel beat to follow the tracks that has been laid out by the owner of that party or that political formation. I would like to also agree with the first two speakers that we do not have political parties in Kenya, neither do we have political ideology in Kenya. Remember, in informed democracies, you have people who are lifetime members of certain political formations. And whether those political formations gain power or not, they remain committed to them. And throughout the period that the other party is ruling, they are there doing their own things. They have political think tanks, they have economic think tanks within their political parties, and they continue to, bring out information to the public. They continue to run things like shadow cabinets. That's not what we see here. What we see here is people trying to see where they can get their bread. So that today you'd be a professed member of Party A, but if Party B goes into power, then 2 weeks after the election, we see you running around State House, and before we realize you're a chairman of a board somewhere, and now you start speaking different ideologies. Look at it. Today we have ODM that is in the center of government, whether they're in the living room or the balcony, they are speaking louder than the ruling party. These are the same people that told us that the election had been rigged in the election of 2022. So that has been forgotten. The conversation about unfairness in the political process has long been forgotten. There are supporters who died during the push for, saying that the election had been stolen. Their deaths have been forgotten, or rather, they died in vain, Today, there are certain policies that ODM as a party disagreed with, especially the economic policies of the current regime. In 2023, they took people to the streets to complain about the high cost of living. But today, who lectures us about how the country is doing better other than the CS for Treasury, who is a member of the ODM party? So they have all forgotten all that. And then today you have an ODM that maybe is considered as maybe the second largest political formation in the country, or one that has been there for a much longer time. And it goes without saying that the membership of that party, or rather the followers of that party, would expect to be visible in the election of 2027. But now they are held between the what the Greeks would call between the Skyla and the Charybdis, because they do not know whether in 2027 they are going to support the government of William Ruto for re-election, or they are going to have a candidate for election, or it's Baba who is going to vie, or Baba is going to retire. So they are in a confused hole and they don't know what to do. But if some of them speak like their Secretary General, they are already brandished as, sellouts to another political formation and all that. Lastly, just to illustrate the bit of confusion that we have in the political field in this country, is the issue that Lectari has touched on about the former deputy president. He was a proponent of the government of the day. He was championing for the policies of the government, but immediately he was dropped from the lineup where he was benefiting from the trappings of power. He became the #1 critic. So people on the street wonder, these are the same policies you are rubbing into our faces every day. But then today, you're saying they are really bad, they're not good for country. When did you realize this? So that duplicitous nature of our politics is what holds people from really believing in these political leaders that are there with very fluid ideological attachments. And therefore, it calls for a rehaul of the system. And a rehaul of the system will possibly come from the younger generation. But again, the younger generation has a very big hurdle to jump, because the caretakers of power in this country have fronted the issue of money so much, so that the younger politicians are not able to wrestle in this field where money controls decision making.
And Dr. pick it up from there. We are talking about we're a democratic nation, evolving with the times. Last year you saw what happened with the Gen Zs. These are leaders of tomorrow. They were saying they were tribeless, they're leaderless, and they are partyless. So in terms of ensuring that we grow with the democratic nature of our country, how do we ensure that the generation of tomorrow will follow the members of this particular political party who are here today?
Well, the Gen Zs is an interesting sort of phenomena. I'm still waiting to actually see a pure formation of Gen Zs, whether they say they are tribeless or partyless and all of that. And you see, the Gen Zs have already said they are partyless. So it becomes very challenging to even think that they are going to actually into a party formation, because the moment they join any party, some of their colleagues brand them as traitors and sellouts. Because if you remember last year, last June, the June of 2024, June of 24, we had a few of the Gen Zs who had come out, who are fairly vocal, and almost appeared as the face of the Gen Z movement. Then very quickly, they joined some political parties, and then their fire died. So actually, political parties is where you actually go to kill your fire and rekindle another one of what you would consider progress in political leadership in Kenya. So the Gen Zs have a tough, very, very, very tough assignment to try and emerge as political leaders going forward, because my generation are not giving them way, and they've also said that my generation and the other generation should not even show up in some of their conversations. But what have we done, as my brother was saying, what have we done? We have pumped in money into their space and divided them. And actually, we are trying to push them back into the tribes they say they don't want to be part of. Because that's now how we've now classified them. But then look at ODM. ODM is not necessarily the oldest political party. I think KANU is way older than ODM. But then what happened to KANU? The younger Moi tried to run it, and I think he's sort of like killed it in a way. ODM has been around for 20 years. You asked a question about the issues in ODM.
Yes.
ODM has been around for 20 years. They've had 3 secretary generals and 1 party leader. And the first secretary general was Anyang' Nyong'o. The second secretary general of the party was Babu Namwamba.
Yes.
And then now we have Sifuna. Sifuna has been there for 8 years. Was there any election of any of these secretary generals? Anywhere?
Never.
Never. There was never any election. So and I was laughing at ODM followers or Raila followers when they were saying that, we're going to hold an election, we're going to vote Sifuna out. I mean, you didn't even elect him into that position in the first place.
I love that.
So which power do you even have to remove him? And who would dispute the fact that Sifuna was bidding for Baba? Because it's Baba who put him there, and he speaks with sufficient authority, and Baba rarely contradicts him. And that allows Baba to actually have some bit of wiggle room, one way or the other. Baba can actually hold a press conference and says that, hey, you know what? I am with Ruto until 2027. Sifuna comes in the following day and says this partnership is dead. And then Baba goes to Kakamega and tells people, hey, Sifuna is the spokesperson of the party. And so we don't have these elections. Come to my own party, that is UDA. We had a Secretary General called Malala.
Yeah, Cleophas.
at one point. We didn't elect him, did we? I don't remember. And then now we do have another Secretary General called who? Hassan. Did we elect him? So I hope you understand what we actually we're agreeing on this bench.
Yes.
That really there are no political parties. They're just basically political leaders whom we follow. And as Dr. also mentioned, actually we don't even know which formation is going to form the next government. Because from Moi's KANU, we had NAC. Was it NAC? Kibaki went in with NAC.
Yes.
First term. Second term, he went in with PNU.
Yes.
Then Uhuru went in with TNA. First term. Second time, he went in with Jubilee. Ruto has come in with UDA. First term. Second term,
we don't know.
We don't know. We don't even know whether he's going to get second term. There's the 2-term, 1-term kind of conversation. Yeah. So we don't even know what is going. So back to your question, as I basically conclude on this matter, on my side, the Gen Zs have no. In fact, I don't think we have anything to hand over to the Gen Zs. My generation sitting here, including yourself, I don't think there's any political ideology that has been handed over to us. Such that we can say that, okay, fine, I am a conservative in my political understanding, and these are the policies that we espouse, or I'm a liberal, and from political perspective, and these are the policies that we espouse, or I'm an independent. Actually, I can confirm to you that when we went, as we were campaigning toward the elections, I was a member of ODM. And then, just before elections, I resigned from ODM to become an independent person, in the sense that my candidate at some point was independent, including my brother who was running for MCA. He didn't win. So I became a member of an independent person in that context. And as he was saying, as soon as UDA came to power, I decided that I was going to work with Ruto and support Ruto, and now I'm a member of UDA. So if you're asking me to hand over something to a Gen Z, what am I going to hand over to that person? And that's the reality that we actually live in. We are actually followers of individuals and not people who are actually following any ideology. And so that's going to be part of the challenge that our young people, the only constant thing is our tribes and political leaders.
I think one important thing that Doc has pointed out is that he's also a political pastoralist.
Yes,
and he doesn't have any political party, but he migrates from one corner to another, which is the real
pasture.
Exactly, which is the real picture of the setup of politics in Kenya.
Yes.
So I don't think if it is wise for us to discuss political parties. We must discuss followers of who and who. So we must always come out very openly and come out of the secret of living in lies. And it is good for us to say, yes, indeed, this is how we'll come up. I wanted to point out some few things in regards to the Gen Zs that my brother had, I think he has forgotten, because that was the question you raised for him. I think with the formation of Gen Zs, there are quite a number of things that, or rather hurdles that are before them, before they think of any political change game. These hurdles includes one, the first thing that they already know very well is that they rarely participate in change of political leaders. Voluntarily or involuntarily, they have voter apathy. And if you look at the statistics of 2022 election, youth were very few in the election process. So that itself will give a leeway to people who will like to manipulate, or rather continue manipulation of government systems, political parties, without fear, because the youth, the weapon of a politician is the voters. So if you don't vote, then it is difficult to do. So our young generation have more other focused things than actually coming up with a change. Secondly, there is this issue of unemployment.
Yes.
This is frustrating our youth. And therefore, if you are not employed, you can't bring your daily bread on your table, and you can't get a 3-course or a 2-course meal in a day, then you are compromised, meaning the factor of money comes in. So for those of us who have money and we want to be elected in a certain position, of course we will dish out the money and you will vote us in. After you vote us in, then there will be no expectation, because it becomes trading. When you use money to elect a leader, means then that leader has gone into agreement with you on a basis of business entity, where you spend your money and you expect to get back your money in that political position you have been given. The other thing that is actually very critical for our youth is the fact that the decisions are always made by the old politicians. They are already holding positions. They are the ones who say and decide on which direction policies will go and who should be involved. So if you are not on the table with decision makers as youth, then it becomes very difficult for you to play a bigger role in terms of changes, because changes usually are navigated through policies that are set. So if those policies are not part of the policies you contributed to, then people will drag you towards the easiest way they can make their way out. Finally, our youth have picked a concept that I put that on the article, it was on Standard last Sunday, on where politics is fracturing our society, because you will find the youth completing university, instead of thinking of his career. You know, this is what is called professionalism and career development within certain level of your milestone. If you fail to do that and you finish high school and everyone wants to become a member of parliament, everyone wants to become an MCA, or even others want to become a president and a governor, then you have lost direction. Because in development, the way our mind and our behaviors develop is based on how we grow from one age to another. And when Doc and we were in school, we were looking towards what is called career progression, and we look at someone who has made it in life in terms of those professions, and you want to be like them. Yes. Now our children want to become like politicians, and there's no career in politics, and there's nothing to learn in politics. It's a dirty game, and it's a game that will going to destroy the whole society. And that's why he was saying, we speak politics, we drink politics, and we sleep with politics on daily basis. And that's why our young people will want to have some changes, but they are not systematically organized. They are not telling or communicating what they want. They are trying to attack an individual. You know, once you are looking at objectively an idea or a policy, then you are able to push it and look at it from the perspective of what can be done much better than what is already in place. But when you talk about me, I should be removed out of the office, I'm one term, I should be, those are baseless foundation for changes. Changes comes with ideology, changes comes with proper plan, and changes come with your voter's card. And I think that's what I will have informed our young people to look into, so that they don't just go into the streets. And then, of course, their purpose of going into the street, which we thought will have been something that will help us in changing the governance system, has gone into a violence system. So these violence issues are also spoiling for them, because young people should not be associated with violence. Young people are people who should be humble, who should be thinking of what next for them, for the future of their life. Because, you know, when you are at the age of 50, when you are at the age of 60, naturally, people think you are closer to death than when you are at 20s, 30s, because you still have a lot, assumed you have a lot of life to live. And ideally, that is how it's supposed to be.
Alenga, going back to especially what you can establish now, that duplicity and not having a direction to ensure that you guide not only your members but the country. How do we change that, especially given with this example you witnessed what happened at Chui House last week, where you have two factions, each faction is trying to take over?
I would first of all want to agree with a conversation that Dr. Matunga raises, which is very germane in this conversation, because he says that his generation, unfortunately, has nothing to hand over to the Gen Zs in terms of ideology, in terms of political acumen and all that. And that is very true. That's the important factor to consider if this Gen Z conversation has to be harnessed for what it is to, you know, to propagate the country to the next level. And then I wrap it now with the issue you're raising of infighting within political parties, the failure to have an ideological alignment so that all party activities and all party discourse centers on that. So then my observation is there is no need to reinvent the wheel. The Gen Z is looking at the hurdles that you have, even to register a political outfit alone, you know, throws them off balance and ensures that our generation cannot be able to, you know, set up in the political landscape. The reality is, if today I have to register a political party, first of all, I need to pay registration for the registration fee, which is not very little money. It's about 100,000. And then after that, I need to set up offices in at least 24 counties across the country. That is impossible. But now there's a generation that has that money, and just making that decision to set up the offices is not a big deal. So what do we do if we are supposed to change? The question that you pose, how do we change that modus operandi within those political outfits? So my advice would be, the young people need to join these political parties. There is no better political party than another. You cannot say ODM is better than UDA, or YPI is better than TIP-TIP. They are all the same. The parties are about the people who form the party, the mind that drives the party. The engine of the party is the ideology within that party. So if there is something that young people can bring in terms of new leadership and a new light in the political sphere, then that should be directed to political parties. So for me, I would urge young people, because I have seen a lot of people registering political parties and they become briefcase entities which have no power at the ballot, and even in terms of representation. But I would like to see a situation where more young people join UDA to change that which they think is not going right within UDA. When they observe from outside and they see, maybe I don't like this about UDA, I don't like the economic policies of UDA. But then you can only change these economic policies or impact them if you're inside that party. If there's something you're seeing that is going wrong within ODM, and maybe ODM aligns with what your heart desires, then join ODM. If it is YPA, join these political parties. So that's why I feel it was totally unfair for young people to castigate those who joined different political entities after the Gen Z uprising. It was very right for people like Samuel to join ODM, because that is where he thinks his contribution can be. And even right within that party, you have seen the steps that he's making as an individual to ensure that he gets that political education, to understand how politics works, and learn a few things here and there. So the young people should also join these other parties without segregating and saying this is the right one, this is the bad one. And that will cure the issue that we perpetually have at the ballot, that ends up getting us square pegs in round holes, because we get people, during elections you'll be told this area, this is just an ODM zone. So whether you are a robber that we all know, but you are vying on that party that has been accepted here, you'll be voted in. And then, so at the end of the day, we end up mapping different areas, certain areas with certain political entities, and these political entities make it impossible for true leaders to rise within the ranks of the party and get into leadership. Finally, I would like to just speak to young people and tell them there are two very important seats in this country, and that is the seat of the MCA and the seat of the MP.
Yes.
The other things like governor, senator, the president, those are not, they're very important seats, but these two seats are the ones that drive the agenda that the governor will either be a good governor or a bad governor, depending on the county assembly that he has. Because this is where policy is formulated, this is where decisions are made, this is where budget is approved, appropriation is investigated, and all those things happen at the heart of the county assembly. So if you're voting in a wrong MCA, because he's popular in your area, because he has enough scandals, because he has some money, be sure that the governor will not be able to implement anything, because this county assembly will hold them back. If you vote the wrong people into parliament, these are the people that will sit down and draft legislation. These are the people that will sit down and make policy that will drive the country. Whatever the president implements comes from parliament. Even the budget of the president, even what the president gets, it's the parliament that decides, are we going to approve this 600 million for renovations at State House? Or are we going to say we cannot approve this? You cannot have, and I always give this example. Today, if Kenya was going to war against Tanzania, God forbid, they would not send Ugandan soldiers to fight for Kenya. They'll probably send Kenyan soldiers to fight for Kenyan territory. So it goes without saying that these young people need to elect among themselves people who understand the struggles of their moment, people who understand the grievances they have. You cannot have someone who is 70 years and above being sent to parliament to legislate on the internet, a product that he does not even understand, to legislate on artificial intelligence and how much we can regulate AI in our day-to-day activities. This person does not understand AI, does not understand the internet fully, and what this generation does, they think the internet starts and ends with social media. So because a young man insulted him in his village on WhatsApp, or Facebook, he thinks the internet is so bad it needs to be regulated, not knowing that that Facebook is a tiny component of the entire panoply of the internet facility. So he does not know how many young people in his own village benefit from online trade. He does not know how many people benefit from online writing, online research. You know, all those opportunities that come with the internet can only be understood with someone who has lived in the internet age fully to understand and appreciate its value. So then, we're talking about things like nanomedicine, you know, and access of medicine to all through technology. How do you map technology to provision of healthcare? These are tough issues that the people that we send to parliament many a times may not be very well versed with these things so that they can make informed decisions. Okay. So it is upon us as young people, if we want a change in the space, then let's reintroduce a voting criteria that does not only focus on the money that we have been given by so-and-so. Let's stop recycling retirees into leadership positions, because if you serve in public service, let's say for 30 years, and then again your villagers are hanging around you telling you, we think you are the best to legislate for us. I mean, they're burdening you. When you come to that parliament, you are coming to encounter young minds like the likes of Kinandindi Nyoro, the likes of Edwin Sifuna, and you will feel like they are disrespecting you. That's why you hear some conversations rise in the parliament and you think, well, if you're looking for respect, that one you should claim it in your own house. But here is a national conversation, and it doesn't have to do with what we like or how we like it said. So I think if we revise the criteria that we use for leadership, it will help us to get into the next phase.
No, I just wanted before you, because I think some things we need to look at it differently. Actually, in politics, as a politician now, I want to speak as a politician. We don't need technicalities as a politician, because the way Parliament operates is that there are technical people mandated to place things that require technical input, because we will not going to make the technical team politicians, because they will not be very much useful. Legislation, most of the legislation you see that people debate are things that has already been proofread by technical people, and all the content of what they are debating on is either to just see whether it will be viable for the people they represent or it is not. This is the two legislation they do. When they are forming laws, I mean, there are technical people who deal with that. So I was thinking, the fact that my brother has said, well, let's have technical people in parliament, will not going to enhance the current system. The fact that we have taken technical people there, because the role they play in the technical formation of things that they debate on is minimal, actually. They play no role. So I think our technical people should be given an opportunity to craft those things within the system, work in the ministries, work in parliament itself as the technical people. And of course, when it comes outside, most of the things are done within the institutions of learning and other areas where we know things need to be looked into in terms of the technicalities that is required. So I think echoing for young people to leave the universities and then become politicians, I think is just destroying them, because politics is, as I said earlier on, is a dirty game. Let our young people build their generation systems and build their careers within the system that is always has been there. Politicians, let's live for people who have got exposures from all entity, and that's why you see in the committees they form, if your background is health, you are placed under the health committee, because you have some inputs that you are likely to put in when others are looking at it. That does not translate to the fact that you'll go and do the technical skills within that mandate.
Okay. And of course, Dr. Unfortunately, we're taking a short commercial break, but do not worry, we'll come back with that conversation. It has not ended. We'll wind up on that particular topic, but there is an interesting topic as well when it comes to the recalling of members of parliament. IBC issued a communique that I told you earlier on has raised eyebrows. I would like to pick the brains of my guest here in terms of what they think about it and how do we go forward from there. So let's take a short commercial break. When we come back, the conversation continues. Talk to us on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 and at Abdiaziz Hashim too. Don't go too far.